Assalamu alaikum, dear students. You know our topic, direct and indirect speech. Today, we are going to learn how to change interrogative sentences from direct speech to indirect speech. Now, an interrogative asks a question. An interrogative asks a question and ends with a question mark. Ends with a question mark, or we can say note of interrogation. The structure of an interrogative sentence is like this. First we have verb plus subject. There may be some other word, but at the end there is always question mark or note of interrogation. Now, in the direct speech, we find two types of questions. Questions which begin with WH word. Number first, questions which begin with WH word, and the questions which begin with auxiliary verb or modal. For example, what, when, where, who, which, how. These are the questions which begin with WH word. And the questions which begin with auxiliary verb or modal like is, am, or, was, were, has, have, had, do, does, did, can, could, will, etc. So these two types of questions we find in direct speech. Either the questions which begin with WH word or the questions which begin with auxiliary verb or modal. For example, he said to me. What are you doing? Now here we have the question in the direct speech, but this question begins with WH word. What are you doing? Number second, he said to me, do you play cricket? Now again, we have the question in the direct speech, but it begins with helping verb. Now I want to change them from direct speech to indirect speech. The first change is I change a reporting verb. So the first change is we change a reporting verb. A reporting verb can be say or say to, says or says to, said or said to. Say or says to becomes ask so far as interrogative sentences are concerned. Ask. Says or says to becomes asks. Said or said to, asked. Or we can use other words like inquire, wonder, etc. We can use other words like inquire, wonder, etc. So the first change is we change a reporting verb. Number second, in questions beginning with WH words. So in questions beginning with WH words, the same word is used to introduce indirect speech. Number second, in questions beginning with WH word, the same word, for example, what, when, where, the same word is used to introduce indirect speech. Number third, in questions beginning with helping verb or modal, we use if or whether to introduce indirect speech. So, in questions beginning with helping verb or modal, we use if or whether to introduce indirect speech. Number fourth, all the questions in direct speech are converted into statements. This is very important. All the questions in direct speech are converted into statements or declarative sentences. And you know, the structure of an interrogative sentence we know. First we have verb, then subject, and at the end there is always question mark. But so far as the statements are concerned or declarative sentences are concerned, here we have first subject, then verb, and at the end there is full stop. So when you change an interrogative sentence from direct to indirect speech, there is subject verb inversion. In the indirect speech, first we change subject, then verb. So there is subject verb inversion. And sign of interrogation is removed in the indirect speech and we use full stop. At the end we use full stop. Number fifth, tenses, pronouns, and expressions of time or place change as in statements or declarative sentences. Tenses, and we learned about them in our previous lectures. Tenses, pronouns, and expressions of time or place change as in statements. Now let's take up some examples. He said to me. What are you doing? He said to me, what are you doing? Now the first change is we change a reporting verb. In the indirect I will write he asked me. Now in assertive sentences, comma and inverted commas are removed and replaced by the conjunction that. But here we have the interrogative sentence and it begins with WH question word. When an interrogative sentence begins with WH question word, WH word, we repeat the same word to introduce indirect speech. He asked me what. Now this is interrogative sentence. First we have verb, then subject. But in the indirect speech, first I will change subject, then verb. He asked me what. We have second person pronouns change according to the object of the reporting clause. He asked me what I. First I will change subject, then verb. Was doing. And at the end, we have to use here full stop. He said to me, what are you doing? He asked me what I was doing. Number second. He said to me, do you play cricket? He said to me, do you play cricket? Here, the question begins with auxiliary verb. And we know, when the question begins with auxiliary verb or helping verb, we use if or whether to introduce indirect speech. He asked me if. The first change, subject then verb. If I. Second person pronouns change according to the object. If I played cricket. But here you have to remember one thing. If we have the question like this, do or does plus first form of the verb. Now we change. In the indirect, we write the second form of the verb. We simply write the second form of the verb. So if we have do or does plus first form of the verb, in the indirect, we simply write the second form of the verb as is clear from this example. Now we shall discuss, we shall take up some more examples of interrogative sentences in the next video. Thank you.